Welcome to the Effective Facilitation Skills e-learning. This should take approximately 15 minutes to complete. This e-learning will give you an understanding of what facilitation is all about. Creating a collaborative environment will improve any session, training, or workshop. A strong facilitator can make a difference between a positive experience versus a negative one. The learning outcomes. After completing this e-learning, you will be able to use good facilitation to improve the quality of your sessions, clarify the role and focus of a facilitator, identify ways to assist a group in using collaboration to discuss and solve problems, manage expectations during facilitated sessions, and handle negative behaviors that impede the group's progress. What is facilitation? Facilitation is a process that trainers, team builders, or communicators use to add content, process, and structure to meet the needs of an individual or group. What is facilitator? A facilitator is someone who helps a group understand their common objectives and assists without taking a particular position in the discussion. Training versus facilitation. The terms training and facilitating are often used interchangeably when in fact they differ depending on the purpose of the session. The purpose of a training session is for learners to acquire knowledge and skill for use in their current job. In a facilitated session, the participants are guided through a process which might include generating ideas, analyzing ideas, solving a problem, or making a decision. Adult learning principles. A comprehensive understanding of adult learning principles is critical when facilitating training sessions. Principle number 1. Make sure your participants understand why. Adults are relevancy-oriented. Principle 2. Adults are practical. Allow the participants to experience what they are learning. Principle 3. Adults bring life experiences and knowledge to learning. Listen carefully for teaching moments and take advantage of them. Principle 4. Adult learners like to be respected. Encourage your participants. Principle 5. Recognize the participants have different learning styles. Most people possess different learning styles. Some people are visual learners. They prefer seeing what they're learning. Pictures and images help them understand ideas and information better than explanations. Another type of learning style is auditory learners. They prefer to hear the message or instruction being given. These adults prefer to have someone talk them through a process rather than reading about it first. We also have the kinesthetic learner. They want to sense the position and movement of the skill or task. These learners generally do not like lecture or discussion classes, but prefer those that allow them to do something. They learn by doing. The effective facilitation elements are the flow. You want to be fully prepared and confident on the key discussion points. You need to know what you're going to say. Just make sure it flows naturally. The atmosphere. Try to make the participants comfortable, not make them nervous. Show your character and charisma when presenting. Be passionate about the subject. Move around a bit and show that you are relaxed and comfortable with what you're talking about. Participation. Before starting, check the participants' comfort level and encourage participation. Acknowledge and build on responses. You want to hold the audience's interest, not yours. Talk with your audience, not down to them. Never cut them off and make your answer brief. Positive and neutral. By maintaining a positive attitude about the session, others will share the positive energy. Act as a content-neutral person who leads the group through the agenda. Remain content neutral by not contributing, judging, or evaluating the ideas generated by the group. Plan. Set the venue. Where is this training going to take place? Set aside the time. What are the time frames? When is this training taking place? Prepare a facilitation plan, an effective agenda to go over the topics. Put in place a parking lot. If you don't have answer to a question, place it on a parking lot. And take time to prepare. You must prepare before conducting any training session. Design a realistic agenda. What needs to be followed? The agenda must align with the learning objectives that are covered for the training session. What order the topics will be discussed? This is very important. This sets up the flow of the training session. How much time should be allotted to each topic? This is very important. This needs to be added on the agenda so you can make sure you are training in the exact amount of time that is specified. Specify any activities or brainstorm sessions on the actual agenda so the facilitator will know exactly when these activities or sessions are supposed to be started and ending. How will outcomes of one topic flow into the next? This is very important so you can make sure that the participants are going to understand the flow of the actual training session. When will you recap and summarize must be listed on the agenda. Remember, as I stated earlier, the agenda is a very important tool. You must follow the agenda so the participants are going to actually understand the flow of the training session. Be prepared with your information and your materials. You must be very organized when completing a training session. Make sure you make proper room arrangements. Is it going to be in classroom training or is it a go-to training session? And make sure you have the proper supplies. If it's in classroom, make sure you have pencils or pens and your flip chart paper and markers. Guide and control. Set the ground rules. What time is your training session starting and ending? When are your break times? No cell phones. Make sure they're paying attention and participation is required. Get things flowing. Listen to your participants. Answer questions. If you don't know the answer, as I stated earlier, place it on a parking lot. Keep them engaged. Include them in conversation. Monitor checkpoints. Depending on where you are in the training session, see if everybody is understanding what you're actually training them. And summarize after each topic so everyone is on the same playing field. They understand exactly where this training session is going. Maintain a positive attitude. Be positive about your ability to succeed. Look forward to what you will learn. Have an inquiring mind. Get curious about your subjects. You want your students to be a success. Make sure you watch for and close any side conversations. You want your students to be paying attention to what you are training them. Keep a close eye on timing. You want to stay on track for each topic. Be on the lookout for people who are not participating fully. Ask the participant a question to see if they're actually paying attention. Engage them into conversation. Dealing with difficult people. Group process can get hampered by the presence of difficult participants. Know how to deal with difficult people so that the discussion will remain on track and group atmosphere will remain positive. For example, addressing disruptions. Refocus the discussion on the agenda. Identify the intention behind the disruption and address it. Ask questions. Reiterate the rules. If no rule against a disruption exists, then take it as an opportunity to set one. Another example is getting participants back on track. If need be, review the agenda again to make sure they know where you stand in the training session. Reflect to the group on what is happening and reintroduce the current topic. Offer to put the off-topic on a parking lot for possible later discussion. And finally, you can ask the group if they're finding the discussion helpful to their ultimate goal, which is learning what you're teaching them. One way for actively participating is the boomerang effect. To boomerang an issue is to present it back to the group for them to resolve. Instead of you answering all of the questions, you want your participants to answer. The reflective technique is one of the basic ways of mirroring an issue to the group. Another way to do this is to rephrase the group's concern into a question addressed to the group. As I stated earlier, this way is if you have a participant that is asking a question, the facilitator can just bounce the question back to the group and have the group answer it, as opposed to the facilitator answering all of the participants' questions. A virtual environment differs greatly from facilitating in person. When you are virtual, it is very important to tailor your personal style and pacing for the specificities of virtual classrooms. Some remote training tips. Project a personal style. Tell a brief anecdotal story that pertains to the content to demonstrate a point. Practice until you are comfortable with the material. You must do this before you're actually completing a training session. You do not want to show that you have no confidence in conducting this training session. Come up with visual ways to get your point across and have them ready whenever you need them. You do not want to show you're disorganized with your training session. You want your participants to have confidence in you. Do not allow silences to last long. Let the participants know if you need a minute to prepare something. Show that you have confidence again in what you're training. Become comfortable using the virtual environment you are using. Make sure if you're using GoToTraining, practice using GoToTraining prior to your actual training session. Engage your participants and keep the information flowing. Stay aware of all your participants when you're in a virtual environment. Keep an eye on the room. Scan the windows to see if any indicators have appeared, such as hand is up, or if they need to ask you a question in chat. Make sure you are acknowledging or answering a participant's comment or question. Do not give your participants the impression that you are ignoring them. Use a monitor or a co-instructor if the group is too large. If you feel you're losing the group, take a break. If you don't know the answer to a question, use a parking lot, as we stated earlier. Respond to private messaging privately. Make sure the group does not see your response to a particular participant's question. Do not work on confidential documents or email while screen sharing. Make sure you freeze your screen. This is very important when you're training in a virtual environment. You do not want your participants to be reading what you're writing confidentially. And turn off email and instant messaging notifications that could contain unexpected comments from anyone you know. Use various tools, polls, questions, visuals to make sure your participants are listening. You want to make sure they're paying attention to what you're training them. Have fun presenting the information. Show the participants that you are enjoying what you're doing. Although this workshop is coming to a close, we hope that your journey to improve your facilitation skills will be ongoing. This will be a great tool to guide your progress. Use the information you learned today in your next training session.